are always talking about the insider threat, always interested in what it means and what some real world scenarios are. So let me share with you a really fascinating example that we ran into. So we had a client who was experiencing some issues where their servers kept crashing and they couldn't determine why. And so we came out to their site to help try and figure out what was going on. And to paint the picture for you, we were in this very small server room. If you've ever been in one, many of them look similar. Small room, like maybe 8 foot by 15 foot, stack of servers in the middle, sort of dividing the room, air conditioned, very noisy from all the servers running. And we were in there just sort of going through logs, exploring what happened when the system had crashed, trying to reconstruct, trying to recreate the issue. And what was interesting was that we couldn't really reliably recreate it. So even though we had the logs, we could determine, certain packets that we thought were maybe causing the system to go offline. We had all the information there. We couldn't repeat it necessarily. Sometimes we would rerun the payload and it would crash. Sometimes it wouldn't. And our job as ethical hackers is to find the vulnerabilities in order to eradicate them. And normally that means the vulnerability in the system itself. And a lot of times people think of the system as the technology. And in some cases, the system involves a human. And so we started to notice this pattern that as we're in this room, we're on sort of one side of the server rack. We're messing around with replaying these payloads. And we were in the room also with members of our client's staff who was helping us with this, including one in particular who was the system administrator. And we noticed this thing that kept happening, that if we were on one side of the server rack and he was on the other side of the server rack, and we would say, all right, we're going to rerun the payload now, the system would crash. And then we started to get suspicious that maybe it might have something to do with this particular individual. And so we started experimenting with that. So we would do things like we would say out loud, okay, we're going to rerun the payload now, but we wouldn't actually run it. The system would crash. And then we would do the opposite. We would not say out loud that we were going to rerun the payload, but we would run it and expecting it to crash if that was in fact the problem, and it would not crash. And so what we were able to determine this took many, many days of doing this, that what was likely happening was that the sysadmin was on the other side of the server rack, and whenever we said we were about to run the payload, he would manipulate something in the server rack that made it go offline. Now, this was kind of an awkward position for us because we were fairly certain that this is what was happening based on those different scenarios. And now our job was to somehow tell this person's boss, prove it, and be right. We had to be right. Like, that, if that's an accusation that is incorrect, that just plays badly for everyone. But through enough repetition of this exercise, we were able to determine with an incredibly high degree of confidence that it probably was this person. We offline told the client, this person's boss, about it, had the boss come in and actually observe a demo of us secretly doing this, showing it in different states, like saying we're going to replay it without replaying it, or not saying we're going to replay it and we do replay it, and demonstrate what happens. And ultimately, that was how we determined that this was in fact the insider. We were able to catch him red-handed, and the client then was able to deal with it from there. But that's kind of a wild story when you think about it, right? And the motivation is the big question. Like, why was this person doing it? And the best that we could ascertain was that this person had some sort of inverted or convoluted sense of how to ensure job security by creating these unpredictable, unreliable outage scenarios, and then they were resolved when this individual got involved. So insider threat takes many, many forms, and there's just one kind of wild scenario that is a true story.